Hi everybody, welcome back. Tony again here with Shinsho Yoga. And this week I would like to talk about something that has been kind of in the back of my mind recently in trying to help people get to yoga and how to get into yoga classes. So I'd like to do a little series. My next few videos are going to be about, this one is going to be about how to get into yoga. The next one I'm going to do is about how to choose different classes, understanding what they are. And then the last one, a little bit about post-yoga therapy. I don't know what else to call it, but things that I think people should be doing after their class to keep themselves healthy and really maximize the benefits of yoga. But for today, I want to focus on how to get into yoga. When I first started teaching, I had seen a study on yoga done by the Yoga Alliance, talking about the population that does yoga and the population that doesn't do yoga and the reasons for it. And one of the main reasons that people didn't do yoga is they didn't know how to get started. And I can understand that. It can be very difficult if you've never done this before. You see a lot of things in social media. You see a lot of things just in general in a TV show or a movie where they're going to use it as some punchline to a joke about getting into some crazy posture, or they're talking about something from the eastern continents, someone on a flying magic carpet or something like that. So if you don't know anything about it but you hear someone does it, you pretty much have a lot of misconceptions. So if you are interested and want to get into it, it can be hard. So I'm going to just talk today, which you may find fortunate or unfortunate, but how to do that. And if you have an interest in yoga and want to learn yoga, my best advice to you is to find a yoga series, a beginner's series to start with. You may say to yourself, well, can I find somewhere that has a beginner class? Or let me find somewhere that has a gentle class, right? I'm new to yoga, I'm concerned, I want to go to a gentle class. You can do that, but I don't recommend them, and I'll explain why. Beginners classes are where some studios I know will name them that way. They'll say, oh, this is a beginner's class, or this is a class for beginners. There is no way to give any consistent teaching in these classes that's really going to help you in going to other classes. In yoga, you have to learn the method to the madness, right? You have to understand why you're getting into these postures, understanding the alignment of them and what you're supposed to do. There's a lot of basic postures that we start with. My Instagram is, my YouTube here is full of them, a lot of basic postures and more advanced to understand all of that. When you're going to a beginner class, it's going to be a teacher who's putting a class on for an hour. They're going to have whatever postures they're going to work on for that night, which are going to be random, for lack of a better term, because you're coming in just to this one class. They're not going to say, okay, it's beginner's class, we're going to work on all the postures you need to know tonight. You can't do that in an hour, right? They're just going to have a couple postures that they might work on if it's a beginner's class to teach you that. And it's not going to be cohesive from maybe the last time. Maybe you get to go that one night and you go, oh, that was kind of cool. Maybe I'll go next week. And you want to go next week, but you don't get a chance. And you go the week after and they're working on something completely different, etc. That's the way it goes. You're not going to get a cohesive knowledge in what you need to know in just going to a random beginner class. And again, that's if that beginner class is actually trying to teach people all kind of the basic postures and how to get into them, right? Most beginners classes aren't that, though. Most beginners classes fall into the realm of what they would call gentle classes. And that is what, you would fall into the line of what gentle or restorative yoga. And if you're looking to get into yoga, a gentle or restorative class is not really going to give you a good enough sampling or understanding of what is really out there. They're relatively basic classes, and I'm not here to knock them, but they're not going to give you to know all the things you know or really give you an idea of what yoga is about. They're just gentle. You do some gentle postures, a little bit here, a little bit there. They work well for people who are just coming back into the practice, who maybe have been injured, or elderly populations often that can't do much and things like that need a slower paced class. But if you don't know anything about yoga, it's kind of like dipping your toe into the shallow pool, a pool club. It's only going to go 2 or 3 feet, right? And you think that that's yoga, right? It's not enough. It's not really going to give you the depth and breadth of the practice. That's why I recommend a beginner series. You need to find a place that offers a series, and in my opinion, a minimum of 8 weeks. At a local college, I've been teaching a beginner series there for going on 4 or 5 years now. With COVID, it's off, but I've been doing about 4 or 5 years, and it's a 14-week program where I take you from child's pose all the way up to a full flow, right, a vinyasa. And I take you step by step each week, building on the prior week, right? That's how we do it, I teach you what we're going to learn, and then we work on that, and the next week we add, and the next week we add, and they all work together, and you build your practice. Not saying that I am the be-all, end-all for this, but that's the way you really need to get started in the practice. There are lots of different types of classes to go to, and I'm going to save that for a separate video because I didn't want this to be too long, and that's a heavy topic. There's lots of different styles of yoga, lots of different interpretations of yoga, lots of different offerings of yoga. But if you're looking to get into yoga, right, you want to really try it and do it, find a beginner series somewhere. Right? Whether it's at a local studio or your college, I would say a minimum of an 8-week program. Sometimes they're condensed into 6 weeks, but beginner classes, you're not going to get a full taste of what you need to really know what you're getting involved with. So if you want to get into yoga and you're not sure where to go, that's my recommendation. Find a beginner series. Just take it. And at the end of that, depending on the teacher, you should have a good enough overview of whether you feel it's right for you or not. Now, what if you don't have a beginner series in your area? Maybe you live in a more rural area where there's maybe only one studio in 30 miles. Where I live, there's studios everywhere. There's a studio 6 minutes from my house that I work at. There's another one another 6 minutes from my house I don't work at. They're all over the place here. And in the Northeast and New Jersey, especially Monmouth County, New Jersey, you can't throw a rock without hitting a yoga studio. So there's lots of options. If you're in an area where there are no options, just take a class. That's it. Pick the studio, pick a class, maybe send a message to the studio owner and say, I'm brand new, what do you recommend? Some owners and teachers are really good and they have a place they can point you in the right direction. Some aren't in it for the right reason and are just looking to be, a big fish in a small pond and will just say, oh, come to my class. That's something you'll have to figure out as you go along. But you just have to, at that point, if you don't have a beginner series available, just jump right in. That's it. Find a class and do it. When I first went to my teacher's class, I had been taking classes at another place, and that person stopped doing classes, and I sent a message they said, well, go to this guy's class, go to Christian's class. So I sent a message. I said, hey, I've been taking classes here. I've been doing this. Do you think I'd be okay to come? His response was, just come to class. That was it. Just come to class. And I went to class, and for the next 3 years, he was my teacher, and he's the one I studied under when I went into teacher training. So if you can't find a series, you'll just have to jump right in and take a class. Can you take a gentle or beginner style class? Yes, but keep in mind, like I said, it's not going to give you a full depth and breadth of what yoga is about and what yoga has to offer. It's going to be very limited. So keep that in mind when you do it. So if you do it and you're not like, I don't know if I really like this, it's not really giving you everything you need. So that's really it. Beginner series, or just jump right in. That's my recommendation, right? If you have questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'll do my best to answer them. I don't know all the yoga studios in the world, but I can point you in some directions if need be. But again, my suggestion is find a series, Give it the time in the series. See if it works for you. I hope it does. And remember my advice through all of it. It's all about the breath. So no matter what you're doing, you breathe, you follow your breath. As the thoughts arise, acknowledge them, allow them to pass by, and return to the breath. Just over and over. That's the most important part. So, thanks again for watching. Hopefully that's helpful to some of you out there. And namaste.